So when you are wanting to create badging in a course, you have to go to the course. So it's on a course by course basis, but badges you make in one course can be available in any course. So once you have started making badges and they're associated with your account, any course that you go into, you can reuse badges you have already made. So yes, you have to enable it in each course you want to use it, but you don't have to start from scratch on badge creation. You then will decide what modules you want badges added to. You either need to create those modules, or if you already have modules there, decide which ones you want to use, and decide what students are going to have to do to earn that badge. Are they just going to have to view something? Are they going to have to mark it done? Are you going to require that they get a certain score on something before they can earn the badge? So you get to decide what needs to be done. And not everything in a module has to have a requirement. So maybe you have a module with 3 assignments in it, but the badge is only applicable to one of those assignments. It's totally up to you how you want to set that up in your modules. Then you're going to decide what badge goes with which modules and add the module piece, or add the badge piece to that module. And then you'll be able to track student progress and show students how they can also track their own progress through Badgr so they can see where they are at. So that's kind of the overall picture of how you would do badging in Canvas. Now we're going to go ahead and start breaking it down one step at a time. So I'm going to go ahead through the Canvas course now, because that way it'll keep us focused on just one step at a time. All right, so here is your 4 steps. So this is your first action item to do. Like I said, I highly recommend you go ahead and pick a course and try this out in, even if you're not willing to do it in a live course yet, or course with students in it, do it in a sandbox course, but practice, practice, practice so that you actually know how this works. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the settings in your course, and you are going to go to the navigation bar, and you are going to make sure that badges is up here and it has been enabled. Okay, and then you need to make sure that you save that. Now, if you are in an elementary Canvas course with the new elementary Canvas look, the only thing different is that you're going to, once you go into the course, you're going to click on your Manage Subject button first, and then you will see this sidebar. So the top left corner of your course has the Manage Subject button, and then you enable it through that. So I'm going to give you a minute here. I'm going to stop talking for a second here and let you go ahead and set that up. Put in the chat if you're having any issues. Hopefully that was enough time. It's really hard with not having anybody in front of me to know if I'm giving you the right amount of time or not. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to just show on the elementary side real quickly. If you're in an elementary level course with the updated look, to do this, you're going to click on, once you go to a course, you're going to click on Manage Subject. That's going to take you back to this sidebar screen. Then you're going to go to your course settings, and this is true for everybody. So once you're on this screen, the steps are the same. Go to settings, navigation, and badges will be somewhere down here. You need to drag it up above this line so that it's viewable to your students in whichever order you want. And then you need to press save. Okay, so that's the piece that we're trying to make sure we get accomplished first, because if it's not in your navigation, you can't really do much with it. On the elementary view, just so you know where it pops up for you, if you add Badgr to a course, it's going to populate a resources page in your course, and Badgr will be right here. So the elementary view is slightly different, but the functions of it and the way that it works inside of a course is exactly the same. It's just a slightly different place to go through and get it. Okay, I have someone asking for another minute. Sure. All right, I'll give you another minute on that step to make sure you get that done.
There is like, okay, it's asking for new user information. Can you show that one more time? They just switched devices.
Okay, and we're going to show you, there's like, you have to accept terms and different things like that once it's enabled. So we're going to go to that next step. Hopefully that will answer that question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so once you have done that and you've enabled it, you'll now have badges as, it should not have the line through it anymore, I don't believe, because you've enabled it. So you'll have this badges section here. Now, if I click on this, I've already done these next couple steps, so I'm going to stick with my course here because it has the screenshot of what you're going to see. So the very first time that you go to Badgr, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. Welcome to Badgr for Canvas. Read and accept the terms, continue, and authorize. So you will need to do that the first time. So make sure if you have not accepted those terms and clicked authorize yet, that you go ahead and do that. Okay. And once you do that, yes, it's going to populate some screens where it shows you the options that are inside with Badgr, which we'll take a look at in just a minute. I'm going to explain those different pieces once you've accepted the terms. Just want to make sure everybody has time to accept those terms first. But once you do that, you'll be on a page that has these options across the top. You just won't have any badges yet. So we will get to this piece here. Just want to make sure everyone gets it authorized first.
Where would you go to be prompted for accepting the terms? I think you're just working through those authorization pieces.
Yes, so you have to click on the word badges, and that's what's going to prompt those terms to come up. So this I've already done it in, so obviously it's not going to prompt me on that. But when you click on the word badges for the first time, that's where you get that prompting. Before.
Do you have to do that for each course when you are doing?
I want to say it's just by user. I'm pretty sure that's the case. It's been a little bit since I've added it to new course, but I'm pretty sure you just have to as a user because you're authorizing your email address. So I would think you'd only have to do that one time.
Right.
Any other questions on this?
It's asking my issuer. I'm getting my issuer and it's asking me to create a user. Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Yep. So that means you're ahead of me. So, okay. All right.
So should their screen kind of look where you're at?
So when they have done that part here, I'll go to our next step.
Sorry.
It's gonna take you. I know it's so hard to gauge where everybody's at. It's you here. This is the next piece once you have authorized. Okay. So when you have done that, now you may need to create an issuer because unless you've ever issued badges so far, then you are not going to have yourself down here. Once you have though, and you go to a new course, and that's why I said I only think you have to authorize once, because once you go to another course and you've already created yourself as an issuer of badges, then you'll just have to select yourself versus create. Okay. So when you click on create issuer, that means you're setting yourself up as an account that can issue badges. So that's a good thing. And you should only have to do this one time. Okay. It's going to ask you to put in your name. You can put description. It's going to ask for a website URL. I just threw the Fort Zumwalt URL in there. It really doesn't do anything, so it's really not a big deal. This is more if you're working with like adults that want to be able to contact you in some way, but you're not going to be really worried about that piece. So I would not worry about, I just threw in the Fort Zumwalt district. So you can also add an image. It just prompts this like little person icon. You can also add a personal background image to your issuer. It's really not a big deal if you have that or not, but if you would like to, you can. So once you click on create issuer and fill out the pieces, make sure that checkbox is done and then click on new issuer. And then you should be selected as the issuer and badges for that course. And then if you go to any other courses, you'll just be able to select yourself as an issuer. So I'm going to leave this up here on the screen and give everybody a minute or two to do those steps. So in this website URL, it looks like they're requiring that whole HTTP part at the front. So they said they went directly to the Fort Zumwalt website so they could copy that HTTPS part at the front. I don't remember that being an issue when I made courses in the past, but you know, I only set myself as an issuer one time, and then I was an issuer.
Yeah, once you get through that part, you're
right. So I honestly don't remember back to that particular piece, but thank you guys for helping each other. This is a good reason to have the chat, right, Sarah?
Yep.
People
Yep.
help each other fix the problem. So much appreciated on that. All right, so hopefully now with that website URL corrected, and I'll go back and I'll fix this to make sure it says that piece later on so that other people working through the course won't run into that same error. Let's move to the next step. Okay, the next step is to understand what requirements are and how they get added to a module, okay? So in Badges, you have to use modules. Modules are the only way that Badgr inside of Canvas works. So you can set however many or few requirements on the module you want, but it has to be in the module. And I say that because I know there were some teachers last year that were just creating assignments and just sending kids to the assignments page instead of actually putting their assignments inside of modules, but that won't work with Badgr. If you're an elementary classroom teacher and you have modules pushed into you from the blueprint, then you already have modules set up, or you can set up your own modules as well. So requirements are just what do you want students to have to do before that badge will work, before they can keep moving forward in that module. For example, in this module that you guys are students in, I set all the requirements to be mark it as done. But there are other requirement options that you have, because I know sometimes just a kid marking something is done doesn't actually mean that they did it. So we're going to talk about how to actually add a requirement to a module. So I'm going to actually go into a module first and I'm going to show you, but then I will put this these screenshots up on the screen so that you can view that while you are doing it. So let me go to my modules here. Now I've already set up modules on this first one. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm going to set up set up requirements on the first one. I'm going to pretend like I'm going to set a requirement here. So I need to go to the module itself and it has to have content in it. Otherwise there's nothing to require. And I'm going to edit the module. So I'm picking a module, I'm editing the module. There are two options that pop up, prerequisites and requirements. The one that we are focusing on with Badgr is requirements. So I'm going to go ahead and add something that students are going to have to do in this module before the badge will work. Click on add requirement. I can decide if they need to complete them all and if they do have to complete them all, but I can decide if I want them to move through in sequential order. If you do not check this box, then students can jump around in the module to complete the requirements. And based on what you're having them do, that may be how you want it. But if you want them to go through the module in order, completing the requirements, then you have to select this check mark right here. So it's going to bring up everything that is in the module, whether it's an assignment or a page or whatever it might be, okay? If it's a page, there's going to be three options: view the item, mark it as done, or contribute to the page. So view the item means as soon as they click onto that page, it meets the requirement. They don't have to click on anything else. They just have to get to the page itself. Mark is done is the one that you have set up as a student where you have that little mark is done box and they have to actually physically click that box and click next. Contribute to the page is like where they would actually, you would give them editing rights to the page and everybody edits the page. I don't see that one getting used all that often with our modules at this level, okay? So I'm going to show you then also what can be a requirement on an assignment, because I don't have an assignment in that particular module. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you the requirements that I already have set. So you can see here on this Badgr one, I've got a lot of requirements because there's a lot of pages in here. And I've select all of these as mark is done. So that what I also want you to see is you can decide, even if you have multiple pages, you can decide what you want for each one. So you might have some where you want them to view and others where you want them to mark as done. Okay, so it's really up to you as far as what the requirement is. Then, let's see, do I have an assignment in here? Let me see, I don't know that I do. No, so I'll have to do that. Okay, let me go to, it's in my slides here. If you want to add a requirement to an assignment, then you have some more options. Go back in here. The drop-down box just changes the options that you have. So for an assignment, it is mark as done, submit the assignment, which means you don't score it. It's just as soon as they hit the submit button, that's when they would have met the requirement, or the score at least button. So on the score at least button, you get to pick what score students have to get, that score or higher, for the badge requirement or for the module requirement to have been met. So if you're giving a quiz and you mark a score at least, and the score is at least 80%, let's say, or 8 out of 10 or whatever it is, if they score a 70%, that they have not met the requirement and they actually can't keep moving forward in the module itself. Because you can set up requirements for your modules that have nothing to do with Badgr. Badgr uses the requirements that are already built into Canvas to help trigger the badges, but you can set up requirements in your modules even if you are not using Badgr. So I just want to make sure that you understand that requirements and prereqs are already built into Canvas and they are separate from Badgr. Badgr just uses those requirements to help issue the badges. That's how Badgr knows which kids get which badges. So you.
All right, slow down a little bit there. I think they're getting a little confused on kind of setting up those requirements and how they set those up.
Okay.
And what are they looking for exactly in that module. So maybe, I don't know if you can run over that little part again. And
sure.
If following along in the slideshow that she has within Canvas, she's on slide 15. So that might help kind of give you maybe a point of reference. And I know it's kind of hard to see on the smaller screen as well.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Sorry about that.
No, it's a lot to kind of go through it a couple times, and I still haven't really jumped in, but my plan is to this year. So sometimes you have to see it multiple times to get it.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to show it as many times as we need to. All right. So I'm on a module and I'm going to click on the 3 dots and I'm going to click the edit button. Okay. That's going to bring up my screen where I can either edit the name of the module or I can add requirements. Okay. So then when I click on add requirement, it's going to give me the option to choose whether or not students have to do the requirements in the order in which the module is set up or not. Okay. So if I check this box, then whatever order I put my module in, that's the order in which they have to complete the requirements. If I don't check this box, then they can skip around in the module to fulfill the requirements. All right. Is there anything else that I should add on that part?
I think we're good, I think.
Okay.
At this point, we're good.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so then when I click on the requirements, and I click on add a requirement, it's going to populate everything that's in the module. If there's a page in the module, an assignment in the module, a quiz in the module, discussions, it's going to populate what's inside of the module itself. Okay. If the item inside a module is a page, so let's say I want to add a requirement to this first page, my options here would be, does the student just need to view the item, which means as soon as they click on that page, they get to continue on. That means that's the only thing that they have to do to have met the requirement is just to look at the page. If I choose mark as done, that means that there's a mark as done box at the bottom of the page that they have to select first before they click on the next button. If a student tries to move through a module where requirements are set and they haven't yet met the requirements, it will not let them move through the module. If you set a requirement on the module and whatever you set that requirement to be, a student has to do what you set first before they can click on the next button and keep going through the module. And that is true regardless of whether you're using Badgr or not. Because I know there were teachers last year that weren't using Badgr, but they were using requirements because they wanted to force modules to be completed in certain ways. Okay. So the other option is on an assignment, which I have assignments in this course, so I can show you.
One quick question on that.
Okay.
If they change the order of the module in the future, will it still work?
That's a good question. I would think
you'd have to still do those requisite prerequisites in order?
I would think so. I mean, I think it's whatever order the module is in, but I haven't done a ton of testing on that particular piece. If we get a time where I have you guys working on something and I'm not talking, I can certainly jump to my other screen and try to test that out.
Okay.
Good question. I just haven't actually practiced with that particular example before enough to be confident in my answer. All right, so if it's an assignment, your options are a little bit different. You can still just make them view it. Now, I would be hesitant on that. For a student just to open up an assignment to me doesn't really warrant meeting a requirement, and certainly doesn't warrant earning a badge, right? So, but you could set it up that way where they just, when they open that assignment, boom, they've met their requirement. You can make them mark the assignment as done and give them that mark as done box. That doesn't mean they've actually submitted anything though. It just means they clicked on the mark is done option at the bottom of the screen. So once again, these first two for assignments, I would probably use sparingly. Maybe if like you're giving kids choices on assignments and you just want them to view all the choices first and then pick one to do, possibly that could be a reason. But most of the time, if you're doing an assignment, you're going to be choosing one of these two options. One of them being submit. Now, this does not require it to be graded and get a certain score. It just means they did work and they submitted it. Okay, we hope that they submitted the actual work they were supposed to do. I mean, Badgr does not know, Canvas does not know what was in that assignment when they hit the submit button, only that they hit the submit button. Okay, so keep that in mind. So if they submit the assignment, then they get to keep moving on in the module. All right. Then the other option is a score at least, and you will see here that based on this will populate however much that assignment is worth. Now, I didn't make this assignment worth anything. That's why it says 0. If the assignment was worth 20 points, there would be a 20 that populates here. If it was worth 10 points, a 10 would populate here. And then you put into this box whatever score that a student would need to make to be able to meet the requirement. So if it's a quiz, for example, like I had said, and it's worth 10 points, and the requirement is that they have to make 8 to be able to keep moving forward in the module, and they only get a 7, they are blocked from moving forward in that module until they get at least that score. So that is a way to provide some feedback for students to allow them to re-practice and retake something if they are struggling, because it won't let them keep moving in that module. Now, they could keep going in another module if there's no requirements, but it won't let them keep moving forward in that module unless they meet that score, and it won't trigger a badge unless they meet that score. Okay. Now, my module has a lot of different pieces in it. I do not have to put a requirement on everything if I do not want to. If I only want to set these 2 requirements, then these 2 are the only things students would have to do in order to meet the requirements and earn a badge. If I set more, then they have to do more. So I can do as many or few of requirements within that module as I need to. So I just want to make sure you know that you don't have to select everything. Okay, because I know sometimes, you know, if you're a secondary teacher and your unit is a novel and it's all put together in one big module, you don't necessarily want every piece to be a requirement. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Okay, so that's just to help you think through how you have your modules set up, because that's how the requirements work.
Put a percentage in there instead?
I think it's whatever. I think it's whatever that you set up the assignment. So I had that assignment set up as points. So I think that's why points pop up. I'm pretty sure that if I had set up the assignment as percentages, and that's what it popped up instead.
Okay.
So whatever.
And if something is
set
set up, and if something's set up as a requirement, they do have to finish that requirement first. That's the whole kind of point of setting up.
Exactly. So. Yes. So, and that works whether or not you ever use Badgr. So you can still, if you just like the requirement piece and you're not ready for the badging piece, you could just start with putting requirements on your modules and see how that goes first. And then you could add in, you know, Badgr later in the year if you wanted to. I mean, totally up to you where you feel like you're at. But I do know we had teachers already using requirements last year, so they may be ready to keep moving forward with that. Okay, I have an answer to that question that was asked, Sarah. So what they had asked is, what if I go into a module after I set up a requirements and I rearrange the order? So I have this set up right now where this create a Google assignment here is up on top, and then I have two other things underneath it. Okay, so right now create a Google assignment is the first requirement. If I go and change that order and I put this down here at the bottom, now create a Google assignment has moved. So when you order, if you have them completing things in a certain sequential order, if you have this box checked, if you move the module around, it updates the order on the requirements as well. So I wanted to make sure that I set awesome since I figured that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I'm sure a lot of people were wondering that. So good. Thank you.
Okay, I had another good question about the module requirements. So they said, I want students to take a quiz and earn a certain score to earn the badge, but I don't want them to not be able to go on to the next module. Requirements are by module, okay? So if you put a quiz at the end of your module and you say you need to earn an 80% to be able to earn the badge for this module and complete this module, if it's at the end of the module, then students can still go to other modules, okay? They just can't keep continuing in that module unless they've met the requirement. So if you have a quiz or something like that, put it as the last item in that module, because students, unless you set what are called prereqs, which is another thing where you require them to complete a whole module before moving on, unless you set that up, then students will be able to get to other modules. The requirement is just what they have to do to keep moving forward in that particular module. So hopefully that helps to answer that question. But yes, so if you want students to do something to earn a badge in a module and you make that the last item, then they should still be able to complete that whole module. They just wouldn't earn the badge for that module unless they met that score requirement, but they could still get to other modules in that course itself.
So just to clarify, students can only get badges for each module, not for each assignment, correct?
Correct. It's per module. So that's why I said if there's multiple assignments within a module, you could set up, that they have to complete or submit all those assignments and get a certain score on each of them, but it's one badge per module. All right, hopefully that gave you a chance just to practice setting up requirements. And like I said, you can use requirements in your courses, whether or not you ever add the badging piece on. I think the requirements are great for your students for a lot of other reasons, just regardless of badges. All right, so let's talk about the badges though, because to me that's the fun part. That's why you're here. So in Badgr, when you click on this blue badges link, it's going to, and you've authorized yourself, you selected yourself as an issuer, it's going to bring in all of the modules inside of your courses, and any modules where you have added requirements, you can assign a badge to those modules. Okay, so you have to do the issuer part and stuff first. It will bring in all of your modules, and if you change what modules are in there, it updates this page. So it goes based on whatever modules are in that page or in that course at that point in time, and it puts them in the order in which they're in your course. Okay, so a couple things, make sure to know on that. And it has these different sections across the top. So this is where you actually decide which modules go with which badges, and we'll talk about creating badges and stuff at the next part. But this will tell you, and they're all complete module. Okay, that's the only type that works inside of Canvas through Badgr. And Badgr is, it's a free thing that they give us with Canvas. So I know it'd be nice if you could set up multiple badges per module and stuff, but kind of get what you pay for. So, and then the next section is your progress section. So it's going to load, and oh, you know what? I don't want to load this whole page because there's a lot of people in here, but it's going to load. Let me go to a course that I already have badges in this course and people that have earned badges so that you can see what that piece looks like. So it's going to populate in the progress section. It's going to populate the students that are inside that course. and it's going to show you which badges that they have actually earned. So you can see here, my demo student, they haven't earned this one, they have earned this one, they haven't earned this one. So these are badges that are assigned to those modules, but they haven't actually earned them yet, and that's why they're grayed out. Now, if I have, 50 students, 100 students in the course, they are going to populate here. It is in alphabetical order, and it's irregardless of section. So the only way, so if you cross-list courses together, just so you know, Badgr puts them all alphabetically together. I asked Badgr specifically about that because I knew we had a lot of cross-listed courses, and they said the only way that it works within Canvas is alphabetical order. So just keep that in mind. But it does give you a good view. So if you have all of your students populate, you're going to see exactly which students have earned which badges on this progress page, which I think is awesome because that gives you a global view of your course and where your students are at. It also kind of lets you know, on this module, I set a requirement to get an 80% on that quiz, and this student doesn't have that badge, so that means they probably haven't gotten a high enough score on that quiz yet. So it allows you to get some feedback on where your students are at. Your students can also click on the progress and they will see where they are at. So they'll be able to click on that progress button and see which badges they have earned as well, which is nice for them to be able to track their progress. The leaderboard is a piece that you are allowed to enable or disable. So if you want students to be able to see how many badges other kids in the class have earned, you can enable the leaderboard. By default, it does not, here we go. By default, it does not show the actual student's name. It is going to give them an alias. So you see student demo is symmetrical frog. I don't know where they come up with these names, but that's okay. So if you do not enable name sharing, when students go to the leaderboard, they're going to see a bunch of aliases, and they're going to see which badges those aliases have earned. So that's more if you just want them to see how many students are earning different badges in the class and kind of compete against that way without actually knowing the students' names. And remember, this does combine sections together if you're cross-listed, so you want to keep that in mind too when you're thinking about name sharing. If you do select this, then students will see their actual names and which actual badges that they earn. So it's up to you. You don't have to use the leaderboard at all if you don't want to, if you don't think that will take away from their course and the way that you communicate with students and stuff. You can just leave it turned off, or you can turn it on but leave it as aliases instead of students' actual names. So that's completely up to you how you want to use those sections. The analytics piece is the paid piece that we do not pay for. That is allowing you to see badges across all of your courses in one section. We contacted Badgr about what that would cost as a district, and I'm not going to lie when I say it was astronomical for what you were getting. Like it was just a ridiculous amount of money that they were asking to get a district level analytics. So we, as the free version, we get these 3 sections that are assigned that we get for free. All right, Sarah, any questions on that part? So next piece here is let's go ahead and take whatever module that you were working with and you added a requirement to. Go ahead, so whatever course you're working in, make sure that you have a requirement set on the module because otherwise it's not going to let you do this practice here. Okay, you can always go back and change your requirements. All right, this does not have to be how you leave it set forever. I just want you to get a chance to actually practice. Okay, so go ahead and go to the badges page, whatever course that you've been working in. And on this objective page, go to the module where you added a requirement. So that's the 2 pieces that we're at right now. Okay, then you're going to go ahead and click on this arrow. And you're going to see any badges you've already made, which is probably 0, right? So you won't have anything here. But the nice thing is when I go between courses, I have whatever badges I've made in other courses are going to populate on this list. Okay, so once you make a badge once, you can reuse it in as many courses as you would like. So you don't have to make different badges for every single course. All right. with that in mind, we're going to use just the absolute easiest way to get a badge in the course, something that's not anything fancy at all, but it would at least get you started. Okay, so I'm going to say create new badge. If I've created a badge on another site, so you can use things like Google Drawings, Canva, there's lots of places out there where you can make badges. And then you can download those badges as images and upload them here. Okay, so if I were to do that and I have a badge saved, so let me just pick, I probably have a picture that I can just use as a badge. I don't know what it's exactly going to look like, but you know, we'll just use this little, yeah, that didn't turn out. That's not pretty. But anything you have saved to your device. Okay, so you would need to find an image. There we go. That's
Perfect.
Game. Great. So you would need to find the image that's saved to your device and then upload it here. Okay. The other option you have right here is to use Badge Studio, which is a very simplistic badge creation tool built inside of Canvas. So you can, sorry, losing my voice after all this talking. You can select, a color and a shape, and then you can select a graphic to go on top of it. There's not a whole lot in here. I'm just going to warn you, it's not all that fancy. Okay, oh boy, those colors are terrible together. Sarah, I need your help. You're my design queen. So you can decide what you want it to look like with this mini, it's like a mini badge maker. Okay, it's very, very simplistic, but it does work. And then press save, you can do it that way instead. Okay, I'm going to show you in a minute here, though, my favorite way to make badges, which is using Badgr's website itself because it still connects to Canvas, which I think is awesome. But if you just want to get your hands on making a badge today, you can use this Badge Studio and you can at least practice with some very basic badge creation. Okay, now there's not like text and different things on here. Like I said, I know it doesn't have a lot in it, but it at least is there for you. Okay, so badge name, I can give it whatever name I wanted. Description, criteria. I don't remember if all three of those have to be filled in. Okay. So you need to give it a reason why it was so 80%. And this is what students will see too, so they know. Let me see if you have to do all three. Yeah. Now, I have often just repeated the same thing here. The description and the criteria tend to be the same basic idea, so you can repeat it. I mean, it doesn't matter what's in here as long as you type something. I mean, you could type A, B, C, D, E, and it would still go. So, all right, so that is new badge created, okay? And then you will see here when students, oh, that is really ugly, but that's okay. You will see here when students meet the requirements of this particular module, this is the badge that they are going to get. Now, if I change my mind and I go, yeah, that is really ugly and I don't want to leave that here, I can click on X and I can add a different badge. But notice, because I made it, it's now saved here, okay? So that is, once you make it once, it's saved here and it's saved across my courses. So we're going to start on this one because I want everyone to at least have created a badge within Badge Studio just because it's the most basic and easy way to get started. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to design badge, and then we'll talk about how to add that badge on your modules page. In the modules itself, this is all the different options that you have, and this isn't even all of them. These are just some of the most common ones of making badges. If you're not going to use that built-in badge studio in Canvas itself, we're going to be taking a look at Badgr's platform online in just a minute because it also connects to Canvas directly. So we're going to look at that here in just a second. But this whole second module is all about badge creation. We are focusing on this one right now, the Badge Studio in Canvas, but we also are going to take a look at making badges with Badgr's online platform because they do have more options. But for right now, we are doing this piece right here. which is badges with Badge Studio inside of Canvas.
Another good question is, so in a module, say you have 10 assignments, but your requirement is only for them to complete 5 of them. Once they complete 5 of them, would that earn them a badge?
Yeah, it's based on whatever requirements that you set. So if your module has multiple assignments in it and you set requirements on multiple of those assignments, they do not get the badge at the end of the module unless they've met all of those requirements.
And what information do they need in the criteria box? Isn't it's all 3 of those areas, correct?
It does make you fill in all 3, but like
You don't have to be specific.
put whatever you want in there. I'll show you where that populates for the student to see so they can see why they're asking for that information, but it really does not matter what you put there. Badgr does not try to verify if it makes sense or not. They just are required to put something in that box. Okay, so in order to make sure that your badges populate correctly for your students, I want to make sure that I show you the really important piece of adding Badgr to the end of the module so that it triggers automatically once the requirements are met. So I'm going to bring over another course here so I can show you this piece. This course has me as the issuer. I have a lot of modules in this course, so I just want to show you, you can have lots of modules, that's okay. I can select, whichever badges I want, and these are badges between my different courses that I have created. So I did an assignment achievement badge, whatever you want to call it is fine. But when I go to my modules page, you're going to see that some of my modules I've added this claim your badge thing to, and some of them don't have that yet. So this is the very last piece of actually triggering those automatic badges when the requirements are met. Okay, so you want to make sure that you add this to the end of your module that has a badge associated with it. All right, so I'll make sure I say that first. So you've set up your module, you've added requirements, you've chosen which badge goes with which module, and then you're going to get this part added to where people can actually claim their badge. Okay, so I'm going to add this to this piece here. So I'm going to add a requirement to my module, and we're just going to say view the item. I just need a requirement. Yeah, reelect the module. Okay, so now I have a requirement here. Okay, now I'm going to add the piece that triggers the automatic badge. So everybody watch carefully. All right, so in the module, I'm going to click my plus sign. And I'm going to choose external tool. Okay. The very first thing that pops up, which is nice because it's alphabetical, is Badgr United States. That's the one you want to pick. Oh goodness, don't take too long. Okay, good. And then it's going to populate this piece for you. You do not mess with this. This is how Badgr is making all of those connections. So you do not mess with that. What you can change is what the wording is, where it says, because what Canvas puts in automatically, which I think is dumb, is called submit badge evidence. Well, you've already set up the evidence in the module itself. You don't need them to submit anything else. So I find that wording kind of deceiving and I don't like it. So what I put instead is claim your badge, but you can name it, get your badge is here, whatever, whatever you want to call it. So don't mess with this URL. This is what Badgr is doing to connect to the module, connect to the badge that you set for it, but you can change the wording of what it comes up with in the module itself. Okay, so here's what I did again. I added, go back and restart here. I went to my plus sign on a module that was ready to go. I added an external tool. I chose Badgr, and Badgr is then going to link everything together for me. I decided I did not like this wording, submit badge evidence. So I decided to put claim your badge instead. You can decide if you want it to load in a new tab. You can decide if you want it to indent or not. That's completely on you. And then I'm going to add the item. So now this part is here. I'm going to publish it so that as soon as students meet the requirements and work through that part of it, it's going to populate for them which badge that they have earned. Okay, so it's going to show them, look, you got your badge. Here it is. So this is where the wording and all of that stuff goes. So that requirements, like what did I say you had to do to get the badge, a high score on an assignment, that's where that piece comes in. So whatever you put as that criteria, it shows up when the student gets to that badge on the badge page. Now, students can, might be able to see the grayed out version of this, even if they don't earn the badge, but it will not populate for them like this until they've actually met the requirements, okay? And then when they meet the requirements here, it also shows up for them when they go to the badges page. So they see it in the module itself, but then it also populates in their progress tab so that they can see where they are at in the course for all of their badges, okay? So as the student is working through the module, so if I were a student, I don't remember if this, this view for student view is necessarily going to work because it's an external tool, but we'll give it a try and see. But as a student, if I were to work through, here's my requirements here. If I were to work through here, I have to view this item first. That was the requirement I set on here. And then I can keep going through and make it through the module. I didn't have any other requirements set up on the module, so nothing else is going to matter that I do. And then once I get to the end of the module itself, that's where I'm going to see that badge page populate. So I think that comes up after here. There we go. So checked that. So if so I think because in student view, it's not going to look that way. But if I were an actual student that met the requirements, it's going to change from not earned to earned. So it's going to show that as the student, I actually earned that badge. Student view doesn't work because it doesn't know who this student is that's trying to earn a badge because it's not in the people section of the, it's not going to load on that badges page, but an actual student, as they would work through the module, they would get here. If they met the requirements, this would pop up as earned, and it would then automatically also show up on their badges page. So I want you to have time to practice that external tool adding piece part. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up, and I want to make it bigger because I know Sarah's saying you might not be able to see it big enough. I'm going to go ahead and put that up here so that you can practice. So I want you to go ahead and go to a module where you have added a badge in the badges page. Click on the plus sign, add the external tool, change the name if you want, add item, and make sure claim your badge populates in that particular module. And then you can also click on claim your badge and make sure that that badge page looks correct for the badge that you chose. So I'll give you a couple minutes to work on that piece before I show you some other badge making options. I had someone post a question. I think they accidentally sent it to just me, so I want to make sure I address it. They said, I usually don't post module assignments till the day I use them in class. If I don't post claim your badge until the test day, that's okay. Yes, like whenever you choose to add that badge in. I mean, you don't want it to be after the students have already completed it and then go back. I don't know how well that would work, but as long as you have that claim your badge set up on the module on the day that you want to use it, that's fine. So you could set up your module and maybe you're adding pieces to it throughout the week, and maybe you're not ready to do that claim your badge piece till the end of the week. That's okay. So hopefully that answers that question. All right, we're going to keep moving forward here. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to practice adding the claim your badge piece to a module. I will say, I know it seems like a lot of work up front. Once you though have created a number of badges and added this to courses, it's going to get faster and faster as you practice it and as you build your library of badges that you want to use. So I know it's a time investment at the beginning, but it really does get quite a bit faster as you keep going. So just to mention that there. Okay, another way, because the Canvas Badgr piece inside this Badge Studio inside of Canvas, it does work. It's great just for getting started and for getting some badges made. But I think you're going to like what Badgr Online can offer because it's still connected to Canvas because it's using your same Google account. So whatever, email address you authorize inside of Canvas also works with Badgr's online platform. And any badges you create in the Canvas will show up on Badgr's website and under your account. And the same goes the other direction. Any badges you make here on badgr.com will also show up in your Canvas courses. So you can actually do all your designing here if you would like, and then just use those badges inside of Canvas. They'll come up on that list when you're in the modules, or on that badges page, they'll come up as an option. So the professor that I talked to in Arizona, who I said uses them with her college students, she does all of her designing on Badgr's platform and then uses them in Canvas. And she has, she color codes them by course and different things like that, because you can also duplicate badges and then just edit them a little bit. So I'll show you kind of how she works it, because I thought it was a really easy way to create a lot of badges, but also make them a little bit unique based on the course that she was teaching. So when you go to Badgr Studio, you're going to log in with your Google account. So make sure you log in with Google and you're under the account that you use in Canvas, should be your school account. And when you do so this is the website here. Sarah, can you drop this into the chat for me, please? Just in case someone's not on the course. I know you might have a lot of different tabs open at this point, so just to make sure. All right, and is there any other questions?
Yep, I'll drop that in there, no problem.
Keep going. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So
one other thing I did have, but it's kind of, I needed to ask it probably before you started this. So like, if badges are made for the course this year, will you be able to transfer those over to the course the following year?
Yes, you will.
Right.
Yes. Once you create that library and it's assigned to your name, you just keep building that library and reusing those same badges. Absolutely.
And if I were to copy a module from one course to the other, do those badges stay attached to those modules?
That's a great question. I have actually tried that before. So the next time we have a break, I will find out that about that.
Okay.
I love these questions though. These are good because with our hour-long session that I did in April, we didn't get a chance to answer those questions. So I've never been asked them, but this is why I like having a longer session, because all of those little details we actually have time to work through. So I will get an answer for you. All right. So once you are here, you've already created yourself as the issuer, so you do not need to create a new issuer, because whatever issuer you created in Canvas is the one that you want to use. So I have a separate FZSD account. You should not have two. You should just, I would think, have the one. Okay, so I just want to say that I have a separate thing for Ford Zumwalt that's unrelated to my own personal account. All right, so if I go to my name, I can see how many badges were made. Now, some of these badges I made in Canvas are uploaded to Canvas, not here, but they're still showing up here. Some of these badges I made in this design studio, and they're showing up in Canvas underneath where I have my badges. So they populate. I just want to make really clear here that these two things are connected. So if I make a badge in my badge studio, here, it's going to populate on Badgr Online. If I make a badge here on Badgr Online, it's going to show up in my list here. So it goes both directions when you are making the badges, which is why the professor I talked to said there's so many more options on this Badgr platform, and it's a lot easier to duplicate and edit badges and things. So instead of making them somewhere else and having to download and upload, she creates everything inside of this section. So I just want to make sure I make that clear. If you've already made a badge, you'll see that there are 3 dots next to it, and you can edit or duplicate. So if you want to make the same badge, but just give it slightly different coloring, you could do it that way. So you can, that's what she does with her courses. She makes a set of badges, and then she just changes like the color behind. So instead of a bluish color of the triangle, another class might have an orangish color. So that's how she kind of keeps her classes separated, but doesn't have to make as many badges from scratch. So if I want to make a badge here, I click on create badge. And then you can, once again, you can upload your own image if you want. You need to give the badge a name. So, mint score, I can give it whatever name I want. You need to give it a description. So, scored 80%. Same thing, criteria, scored 80%. I know sometimes, so that's not the right symbol. I do know sometimes it feels like you're doing the same thing over and over again, but I promise, just kind of copy and paste. Okay. Oh, I want to do the badge, design a badge, sorry. So right here, I'm going to design the badge here because I don't want to upload one. This one gives you a lot more options. Okay, so let me go back through those steps again and make sure everyone's in that same place. So I signed into badgr.com with my Google account with the link that was right here. I clicked on my name and I clicked on create badge. Okay. Once I did that, I'm going to start designing a new badge. This is not me editing one that's already done or duplicating. This is if I'm starting a new badge from scratch. So I'm giving it a name and just those same pieces you had to put in Badge Studio, the description, criteria, whatever, the same thing gets put in here. Okay. The design a badge piece though gives you a lot more options than what you had when you were in Canvas. Okay. And you can even search icons. Okay. And it will bring up different icons. So this is all searchable. All right. You can do letters. There's lots and lots and lots of options here. There's also different shapes. So you can even pick from more options here. There's different styles here. So you can decide like, I mean, it just goes on and on. So even though there's other sites like Canva and stuff that really create a lot of cool things, I still feel like this has tons of options for you to where you could just design everything you need here. Do you have a question, Sarah?
No, we do not.
Okay, sorry, I thought you had unmuted yourself there. So yeah, so you design, I'm really doing a terrible job designing these fake badges, Sarah. What kind of colors am I picking? These are all.
We will pick we'll have an intervention later.
I know. She's like, you're cringing as you look on the screen. I can tell right now. This is what happens when I design something quickly. It's not pretty. Oh boy. Okay. So once I have it designed and I've given it, oh gosh, I'm just going to retype quickly here. All right. I don't remember if that criteria, that doesn't have to be filled in. Then I've created this badge. Okay, so now when I go back to my courses that have those badges in it, I don't remember how quickly it comes through. I don't know if it takes a minute or not. We will see here how this works. Let's see, does it have it now? Oh yeah, there it is. It works pretty fast. So now I've created it here. But because it's connected to the same Badgr account that I'm using in Canvas, it populates here and it just adds to the list. Now, is this list going to get long after a while? Yes, it can, which is why I would suggest maybe having some kind of naming structure for your badges, because if you're going to use a lot of badges, you might want to have an easy way to find which one that you want. Because since you can use them across courses and things like that. So when the professor I was talking to user badges, she had kind of like a letter system. So she knew which badges went with which courses, so she could find them easily because her list went on and on and on because she has some.
It looks like also in the under additional information when you're creating it, it lets you add and stuff, so you could tag it, for specific things as well. Maybe.
Yeah, there you go. That's good too. Yep. So, or if you have badges you've already made and you just want to duplicate, so you can duplicate the badge and then you can edit it as well. Now this one I actually uploaded an image, so let me go to one that was made in Badgr because that one is going to have more of the options. So I click on the three dots, duplicate, then it's going to bring this up, and then when I go to design, I believe it lets me, yeah, so it's going to bring up what I had already made, and then I can just maybe change the background color or give it a different icon or something like that. So you don't have to make each badge from scratch either. If you have a certain design that you like, you know, if you want your quizzes to all have a similar, you know, you score a certain score on a quiz and you want those to be similar, but not exactly the same, you could use the same icon and everything and just put a different color behind it, whatever the case might be. So like I said, there's a lot of different places that you can make badges. And I have played with all of them. And in my personal opinion, this Badgr Online Studio on the Badgr website is the simplest and easiest one to use. Now, that being said, if you really like Canva, if you like creating things, Google Drawings, Google Slides, like I have resources here about how to use all of those things. But if I were somebody that was just getting started and wanted to have my course set up for the year, I would do it here. That would be my personal take on that.
I would just advise keep it simple and just start. And I think as you go through the process, you can get more and more detailed, but I think you can definitely go down a rabbit hole of design.
Especially you. Somebody like you that, you know, likes to actually make things look pretty.
It's also a procrastination technique, but that's okay.
That's true. Yes. And, you know, and the ones these are some that I have created on Canva, and Canva does make really pretty things. So, and I can put more like wording and stuff like that on there. So, I mean, if you do want them to really look nice, Canva is another great option. It's just, you're going to have to do a lot more downloading and uploading. Whereas here it's connected. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else that we want to add. I do have at the end here some further resources. So if you want to watch a tutorial of setting up Badgr in a Canvas course, this is one actually from Badgr themselves and best practices. So I found some really great resources from Badgr on how to do all of the steps that we did today. So if you prefer to have something to go back and watch versus a slideshow to go through, you absolutely can do that. And then this was the webinar from our last PD day where I talked about Badgr. I will add the webinar, the current one, to this page, but it will also get added to our FC Tech Central. So if you go to your help menu and click on FC Tech Central, these are all of our tech resources. And I will add a section for Badgr, which I think it might already be in the Canvas section. And if it's not, I will add that on with all of my badging resources too. So you can get to that just by clicking on the help button and then going to the FC Tech Central that pops up. So there'll be multiple ways to get it. Remember, you've been added as a student to this course. So it is going to continue to show up on your dashboard because you are a student in it. So you can get back to these resources when you're in Canvas at any time. If you are still struggling and you're like, I really wanted to do this in person and I just am struggling with setting this up myself, in FC Tech Central, let me go back to the home page. There is a way that you can set up a virtual meeting with me where we can work through together, and you can share your screen and different things like that. So that's this book an appointment piece. So if you click on book appointment with Hannah, it's going to open up my Doodle calendar that has my available time. So it's connected to my Google Calendar, which means anytime I have something going on that I've put in my Google Calendar, it makes that time not available here in Doodle. And you can select a time and click on it, and then it will send us both a notification that we have a time set up, and then it even gives you the link, a virtual link for us to join the meeting together. So that is also available to you if you are somebody that's like, I kind of get it, but I really need someone to walk me through it step by step. That is a way that I could give you more help on that. Okay, so here's what happened when I copied over. It brought the module into my modules list. It does not show that it has a badge associated to that module, however. So it looks like even though the module is in here and this claim your badge copied along with it, it does not look like it was selected as the badge. Yeah, no badge. So it does not look like you can copy it with that badge because it's by course. So that's why I was afraid it might not.
Yeah, I didn't think it would copy
all
the
way. it looks at everything as its own separate course. Now you can go to the badges page and still choose the same badge that you had used in the other course you copied it from, but that claim your badge section is associated with that particular course and that particular module. So hopefully that answers the question for anybody that hung on there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and officially stop us here. Thanks again for attending and have a great rest of your day.